Hey guys, it's your average middle-aged American back again with another reaction video. This one is from Feli from Germany. 10 things I love about living in the USA as a German. Trying to find an upbeat video because I just spent 3 hours arguing with a computer monitor about everything she would fix in America. Oh, it's probably never going to be published, but I'm looking for something a little lighter, a little bit more fun. Before I get started, I just want to thank all you guys. At this point, the channel is about 2 months old, and you guys have been great. I've learned a ton. I learn every day. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your subscribing, the thumbs up, the education. Even when we don't agree, I still learn stuff. Most of my subscribers are European. Most of them are older and wiser, and I do appreciate y'all. All right, enough jibber jabber. Let's get to it.
Why did I move to America? Well, there are just a lot of things that I love about living here.
Yay.
So today I'll tell you about my 10 favorite things about living in the US. Hallo, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel.
So if you notice the videos that I do of her, she's got stuff blurred out and muted, and well, I just figured out what had happened. Apparently there was some kind of duplicate name situation, and rather than fight it, she just decided to change her username to somebody else. Had a similar, actually had the exact same name, and was, I guess they had filed a trademark 6 years after they started or whatever. Anyway, so that's not me blurring all that stuff out. That's her. She had to go back and go through all of her videos and blur things out, and she's nicer than I am. Anyway, that's the deal.
My name is Felicia and I'm a German living in the US. As many of you already know, I was born and raised in Munich, and I first came to the US in 2016 for an exchange semester during my undergrad. I then came back for an internship, then I came back for my master's again, and then I was lucky enough to win the green card lottery, which is why I'm now here as a permanent resident. And of course, people ask me a lot, why did I do this? Why did I move here? Why leave Germany? And the answer to that is that I didn't leave Germany because I didn't like it there anymore, or because Germany isn't a good country to live in, because Germany is a pretty amazing country to live in. But the reason is that every time I was here, I just really enjoyed it here. Those of you who have lived abroad before probably know how exciting it can be and how amazing it can feel to challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone by living in a completely different country where everything is new. So the excitement is definitely one reason why I came here, but the other reason is that I just love a lot about the US and about American culture. And what those things are exactly, that's what I'll tell you now. So here are 10 things I love about living in the US. The first point on my list is that I love how open and friendly Americans are. Not every single one, of course, so just a general disclaimer, whenever I make a generalizing statement about Americans, this obviously doesn't apply to every individual out there, but it's just my personal experience with the majority of Americans in comparison to Germans. So overall, Americans are a lot more open and friendly than Germans, and that's just something that makes being away from home a lot easier, and it makes living here really enjoyable. This includes that approaching people and talking to each other is very easy and comfortable here. In Germany, the threshold to do those things is a little bit higher, but here you can pretty much just walk up to someone and start talking to them, like if you have a question, for example. This especially works at certain social settings, of course, like at a gathering or when you're at work or school, but people even approach each other just at the store or on the street sometimes. And most Americans are really friendly too. They're polite to each other, they usually have a friendly tone, they're interested in what you have to say, they share personal stories with you, they give you compliments, and if people are in a bad mood, they don't usually take it out on everyone around them, which in Germany I sometimes feel like you can just tell that someone is in a bad mood, and obviously that doesn't brighten your own mood either. The second point on my list is that it's easy to make friends in the US. Since most Americans are so open and friendly, I found it really easy to make friends here in the US, which obviously made my experience here so much better in the beginning. Because when you come to a new country and don't know anybody, having friends changes a lot actually, and it's pretty much the first step to feeling at home in the new country. And people were also really hospitable in the beginning. They offered to show me around when they heard that I had just arrived, or they drove me to places because they knew that I didn't have a car, or they invited me to hang out with them and their friends, or to come along on trips. So that was really amazing for me. But even after 3 years, I just love how there isn't a really big threshold to becoming someone's friend, and how it's also really easy to connect different friend groups with each other. Like in Germany and some other European cultures, people kind of prefer to stay within their established friend circle, and if you have several of those circles, you usually hang out with one or the other. But here, connecting friend groups and also inviting people to join if you've already made plans with your friends is really common and simple. These things can be a lot more complicated in Germany, which is also why for people who are new to Germany, it can be really tricky to make friends in the beginning. But the good news is that once you've made friends in Germany, it usually means that you can really rely on them and that they're going to be in your life for a while. Whereas here, I'd say that, and of course this varies a lot, but overall, I'd say that not only the threshold of making friends is pretty low, but also of losing them or losing sight of each other. But the point still stands, I love how easy it is to make friends here. Americans are a lot more spontaneous than Germans, and I love it. Germans love planning, so most Germans plan things like hanging out with friends.
I really am starting to think that I'm German. I really, I plan things, you know. I only care about really close friends. I don't need 300 acquaintances. I don't always have the most pleasing disposition, but I'm 100% loyal. So I may be German. I may be German. I watched my biggest video so far is on Germany, and my allergies got all messed up, and it was like my eyes were leaking, and it was just weird. I may be German. I can't speak German. Maybe if I hit my head or something, when I come to, I'll just start speaking German. You ever seen those people that do that? They just start speaking Latin and stuff. Maybe I am one concussion away from being a German. I don't know. But she's describing me more than American.
At least a few days or even weeks in advance. Here, I really enjoy that people are much more spontaneous, and sometimes it can even happen that you didn't know what you were going to do tonight, but then suddenly you end up having like a game night with 8 friends or something, and that just happened like the hour before. Just an example, of course, but I hope you guys know what I mean.
Nope.
In Germany, the majority of those 8 people probably would have already had plans, or if they didn't, they may not have been up for a spontaneous thing like that. The downside to this is, of course, that people also bail spontaneously sometimes, and if you like to plan ahead a lot, it can get tricky at times. Americans are very good at enjoying themselves and treating themselves without feeling the need to have an actual reason for it, and I personally find that to be a very healthy way of looking at life. Germans often have the need to justify those things towards others, like if they treat themselves with unhealthy food, or if they go to the bars and get drunk, or if they spend a lot of money on a new pair of shoes.
I clearly don't have to justify eating food that's not good for me. It's pretty easy to justify. You know what my justification is? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I rarely gamble, I don't do drugs, I'm always home, and I eat crap. There's worse men in the world, I can assure you.
or whatever it is, Germans often compare themselves with others and judge each other in certain ways. And so if you do something where you feel like other people may think something like, oh, why did he spend all that money on shoes when we all know that he doesn't have that much money and he should have just saved that for emergencies, Germans tend to explain themselves and justify their actions towards others when technically they don't owe anyone an explanation, in my opinion. In the US, people don't really do that as much, but I also don't see people being as judgy as in Germany, and Americans don't begrudge each other as much either. So I think that's probably the reason why people don't feel as compelled to justify their actions here. For me personally, this whole attitude of just treat yourself if you're in the mood for it definitely had a positive impact on how I live my life. These things are all somewhat related to each other, but the next thing that I love about living in the US is this optimistic and positive atmosphere here. Germans are oftentimes a lot more skeptical and critical, so I find that positive vibe here in the US really inspiring. You can observe this in all kinds of different contexts and parts of life, like how people just compliment each other a lot, but to give one concrete example, you can see this a lot in the field of entrepreneurship, especially when it comes to new ideas and thinking out of the box. So broadly speaking, when the average German would ask, why, the average American asks, why not? So while Germans often focus on finding potential problems and reasons why something could possibly fail, Americans focus more on the potential and have more of a can-do attitude and don't give up easily even if they fail a few times at first. And this attitude is something that Americans don't only have about their own life, but towards others too. Celebrating other people's success, encouraging others, and also supporting them to use their talents in the best possible way is a part of American culture that I would love for Germans to adopt a little. This kind of ties in with what I said about judging each other earlier, but Germans unfortunately often begrudge each other's successes, and instead of being happy for other people, we oftentimes feel envy and somehow feel like another person's success may make us less successful or valued. Again, this doesn't apply to every single German, of course, but it's definitely something that you can see in German society. And who knows, maybe this optimistic and positive spirit here in the US still goes back to the pioneers who came to this new country with a lot of big dreams. Very closely related to that is that
we don't, at least people that I've associated with my whole life, it's not about, you don't have to step on somebody to get up. It's like, I don't even, whatever the saying is, a high tide raises all boats or whatever. Yeah, I mean, everyone can succeed. And that's kind of the thing that I guess when I'm watching some of these videos, especially the UK, just seems to be so almost melancholy when it comes to entrepreneurship and obviously capitalism. And, it's always like they're, I just look at it as a glass ceiling. That's the way I always look at everything is, we don't have a glass ceiling. America, you have every opportunity to be successful. Doesn't mean you will be. Doesn't mean you will be. You may have a miserable life. God forbid. Who knows? Health problems or whatever. Tragedy in your life, it can happen. But you can be born poor in the worst city in your state, go to free school, move, start a company, start a trade, learn a trade, become an apprentice, go to college, go to trade school, whatever you want to do, and 10 years later, you could have literally have a house and a car and a bank account and some retirement saved up, get married, have a child, expand your business, send that kid to Harvard or Yale or Princeton or the state university or community college or whatever, and you could be making six figures. They go become a lawyer or doctor or whatever. They're making two, three, $400,000 a year, you know, and you're 45 years old, you're a millionaire, and you were born dirt poor, dirt poor, lived in an orphanage. I don't know. I mean, worst case scenario, no matter what happens, if you're born in America, you have a shot at the dream. I'm 53 years old. I still think about my opportunities. I still think about what I can do before I retire. I'm kind of both ways on this. I look for the, how to fail, what would cause you to fail, the pessimistic approach. You got to see that. But then I always know, yeah, look out for the pitfalls. Look out for the situations that are going to hurt you. But it's not the government pushing you down. It's not other people pushing you down. It's whether or not you have what it takes to rise. And I just don't think that a lot of other countries feel that way. I know the UK doesn't feel that way. I know it. I mean, I've talked to people and they're just like, I'm born, my parents worked in a factory, I'm going to work in a factory, I get free health care, I go to the pub every Friday, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not the way it is. I mean, that's why America has so many Fortune 500 companies and so many inventors and so many, not all about money, but millionaires and billionaires. To me, being rich is freedom. It's not about money. I mean, it is a little bit about money because you have to have money to have freedom, but I'd rather make half as much and have twice as much time to do whatever I want. If I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, that's rich to me, if I have my health.
I also love how enthusiastic Americans can be. Whether it's about their favorite sports team or a band or just the school they're attending,
Roll Tide.
Americans are usually not afraid to share their enthusiasm with the public, and they're also not ashamed to stand up for what they like and to show their excitement to everyone else.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned in my video on sports cultures, Germans can be like that when it comes to soccer, but besides that, we're usually a lot more reserved and modest about those kind of things. Unfortunately, this also sometimes applies to our own accomplishments and things that we should be really proud of. Sometimes people are very modest and humble about those things too and feel like they can't really celebrate openly because it would make them look like they're bragging and make them unlikable, which I think is really sad. So I think being positive and celebrating each other and supporting each other is awesome in the US. The next point on my list is that
there's a difference between being proud of yourself or feeling accomplished and being obnoxious, or I don't even know what the right word is. Flaunting things can be a little, that kind of stuff. You worked your butt off and you got a promotion, you started a company, whatever it is, graduated, college, whatever. You out and buy a new car, you should be happy that you went out and bought a new car. Or, it doesn't mean you have to talk about how much it cost and all that. But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with buying a Rolex. It's a milestone. It's a way to remember a part of time. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how you present it, I think, that really matters. You don't go around and go, hey, look, I just bought a $10,000 watch. Check this out, blah, 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 blah. No, yeah, you don't. Or I could have bought the cheap Beamer, but I decided to go ahead and get an M because I'm worth it. I'm a man. If you don't have an M, you're nothing. Yeah, it's all about approach. It's not about the item, or it's all about the approach, my opinion.
love how individualism is valued in the US and how I feel like that the need to fit in and to float with the current isn't as big as in Germany. This is based on my personal experience and it is compared to Germany, and this may vary a lot in different places between rural and urban areas, but overall I feel like you're really encouraged here to be who you want to be and do what you want as long as you don't break the law or harm anyone. I've talked about this with my German friend in this video a little, but Germans tend to look at each other a lot in public. Some people would say that we stare, while in the US I feel like it really doesn't matter what you look like. Whether you're wearing gym clothes out to the bar or have a lot of tattoos and piercings or are bigger than other people, I feel like Americans don't give you weird looks usually. And to be honest, I don't hear Americans talk about others a lot either, which I think is awesome. The motto is kind of like mind your own business, but in a good way. Okay, this is old news, but another thing that I love about living here is that the United States are huge and there's just so much space here. In Europe, everything is much more dense and just smaller than in the US. This starts with the country itself, but it also applies to how streets are much wider, stores are bigger and have bigger selections, houses are bigger and you don't have to be rich to have your own yard and driveway, and even things like fitting rooms in a store are bigger. So except for a few dense cities in the US, everything is just more spread out here, and that definitely gives me a feeling of freedom. On to the next point,
and that's why we have such a transportation problem. You know, that's why you can't just walk from, you know, your house to the grocery store and all that. You know, it's in her other videos, you know, it's one of the negatives. But Americans drive trillions of miles a year. That's not an exaggeration. That's a number. Trillions of miles. So you can't have both, I guess. But yeah, she's right about the space. I mean, you can, if you're in Texas or Oklahoma or Montana or, you know, out west, even in the country and, you know, on the east, some of the, you know, some of the more rural areas, you know, there's people that have normal houses on 5 acres, 6 acres, 10 acres, you know. There's people that can't even see their neighbor. How great is that? No, there's definitely space. Montana has more cows than humans. Little tidbit for you.
Also love how within one and the same country, there's just so much scenic diversity. I mean, Germany has a very diverse landscape too, and so do a lot of other countries, but I love that in the US you have 2 different coasts, you have really warm and really cold climates, you have swamps and beaches and the big lakes and mountains and vast openness and the canyons when you go out west. And still, when you travel all of this, you're in the same country the whole time with the same language and the same currency and all the things you're used to. Okay, so for the last point, this topic has come up quite a lot in my recent videos about how the US is all about convenience. And I mean, I would lie if I said I didn't enjoy that. You can pretty much get anything you want here 24/7. Okay, right now you can't with this whole pandemic going on, but before this happened, you could, and hopefully after. A lot of the stores here like Target or Walmart have pretty much everything you need in just one place. So everything from groceries to furniture, clothing, medicine, hardware, but also in just regular grocery stores, you can usually get way more than just food. And as I've mentioned before, stores have huge selections, so like a full aisle just for cereal is pretty normal, or like 20 different brands of pasta sauce and those kind of things. And in addition to that, there are drive-thrus for almost everything, so you can just conveniently get food from your car, or coffee, or medicine, or cash, or even liquor. And of course, the US has amazing customer service, which is something that I absolutely enjoy about living here, and this also plays into the whole convenience thing. Most salespeople at stores are extremely...
I think New Orleans has drive-through bars. I'm dead serious. I think you can drive through and get mixed like drinks, like cocktails, probably frozen cocktails, probably hurricanes and stuff through drive-through. There's definitely drive-through liquor stores. But now it's delivery. You don't even have to get in your car. I mean, 75% of my groceries come delivered. It's just easier. It's easier because you go down the list on the computer. Just click, 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 things you buy all the time. Click, 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 click. And it's here in 2 hours. I get all our bottled water. That's all delivered. These come in 40 packs. So they're like 45 pounds a piece. And I can get 4 or 5 of those delivered about every other week. And cost me about probably $15 more, 10 or 15, than getting in my car, driving across town, loading up 200 pounds worth of water, driving back and unloading it for $15 more. I can punch it on the computer and have it at my house in 2, 3, 4 hours. It's amazing. It's great. It's wonderful. Sometimes if you're buying something that's small and expensive, it's not the best value. But for cheap, heavy, big items, it's wonderful. You tip the guy $10 and he's thrilled to death, and I don't have to go anywhere. But yeah, convenience is a big thing. And of course, there's Uber Eats and DoorDash. And I mean, there's probably, I bet there's 60 restaurants that deliver to my house through Uber Eats.
Extremely friendly and help you wherever they can. Waiters are usually really happy to accommodate your special requests, and even at the grocery store, you don't even have to bag your own things in most cases. And for those of you who think that customer service is bad here in the US, believe me, you do not want to come to Germany then. So that was the end of the list. Those were my personal top 10 things about living in the US. My friends and family have definitely heard all of these before because I tend to talk about this a lot, especially whenever I'm in Germany, because then I kind of like notice how those things are missing there. I'm sure this can be a little annoying sometimes for the people around me, so I apologize. But maybe now that I've expressed it in a video, I won't feel the need to talk about it as much. And I'm interested in what you guys value the most about the place that you live in, or if maybe there is a country that you're dreaming of moving to, what is it that you like about that country the most? Share your stories in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel for free if you like what.
Alright guys, well there you go. So obviously she's happy living in America. She's German, she was born in Germany, but she still likes America. And she still likes Germany too. And so do I. And I haven't even been there yet. But I can tell. I can tell. She must really be happy because she actually bought a house here, so anyway, we'll do it for this one. No big arguments on this video. I like it. I appreciate you hanging there. I do appreciate all of you, whether you subscribed or not. If you haven't, I would appreciate it if you did. Thumbs up always helps. But to all my existing subscribers, I really do appreciate all your input, all your comments, your help, your education. And even when we don't agree, I love the fact that we can communicate in a civil manner. I'm just trying to learn and also kind of set the record straight on a few things about America. But learning is my #1 goal here. So I do appreciate all of you, and I will see you soon. Take care.